Shaun, thank you for your time. I'd like you to tell me and your viewers what's in store for us at the Dallas Marijuana March, October the 17th in Dallas, Texas. Could you do that for me?
Can I start by giving a little bit of context on the event?
Absolutely.
So the Dallas Marijuana March this year will be our second annual Dallas Marijuana March, calling it that event. In years past, we actually had our annual Global Marijuana March in Dallas at City Hall, and we would march to Dealey Plaza and back. And then a few years ago, I think it was 2012, 2013, we moved that event, the Global Marijuana March, to Fort Worth because we found a location that was just frankly better suited for the event. And it reflected in a huge turnout of people for the city of Fort Worth, the biggest event we've ever had, the biggest event we had ever had to date. And so the Dallas Marijuana March became our way of balancing out the fact that Fort Worth had this really strong event every year that the people of Fort Worth could count on, and people from all over the state would come to. And we kind of realized that us being DFW NORML, it was really up to us to keep the balance between Dallas and Fort Worth as balanced as it could be. So the Dallas Marijuana March was reborn as its own event, separate from the Global Marijuana March, that we just kind of made up as a way that we could say, all right, Dallas is now officially coming out into the streets. We're going to talk about this. The police will be there. And so everybody be prepared to get political and do a little bit of protesting, some civil disobedience, etc., etc. And last year we had a great event. The local media misreported our numbers as being around 4,500 attendees. I wish it was that many. We actually had closer to around 2,500 people, but that's still a lot of people, especially in a small area like Dealey Plaza, the location of the JFK assassination. And so this year, we kind of decided, all right, instead of having our event at City Hall, which is what we had last year for the Dallas Marijuana March, we would assemble at City Hall, we would have a stage with bands and music and speakers, we'd have vendor booths, and basically have a festival-style event at Dallas City Hall for approximately 6 to 8 hours. And that was great. We had a great turnout, as I mentioned earlier, but it was expensive to do the event this way because of the commercial aspect of the event. The vendor booths, the stage, all of this on city property is what we had to ask for a permit for, permission. And so we decided that after a woman that I will not name from the Dallas Parks and Recreation Department took our application and sat on it for approximately 3.5 weeks, and for a plaza very near Dealey Plaza that we were going to use as our staging location. And despite this woman seemingly using her power to try to hamstring us or slow our event down, what it actually did was empower us to say, okay, we don't want your permission anymore. We don't actually even want to have a commercial event as part of the Dallas Marijuana March anymore. And in fact, this is now a purely First Amendment event, so we don't need your permission. We'll let you know where we're going to be, and that'll be that. And that actually worked just fine for the Dallas Police Department because we had already been in talks with them a month ago. They already knew that the city was dragging their feet, that we had some difficulties here at the end, being hit with some requirements for our event that had never been asked of us before in the years that we had been doing events in Dallas. And the Dallas police made us feel like we should still really try to throw this event and that they were going to work with us to throw this event. And it really empowered me and our board of directors to say, okay, the commercial side is gone now, and it's a First Amendment event only, and we'll have the commercial side of it at an after party, at a location we can be at, that we don't have to have a permit to be at, that we can have a good time at, and people will go after the event. And so that way this becomes a purely First Amendment event, constitutionally protected. And so what I hope happens is now, more than ever, people see that this is not an event about coming out and breaking the law in public, even though civil disobedience admittedly is part of it. You look at any photos and videos, and you're going to see people smoking cannabis at these events. But what you're not going to see is people getting arrested by the police. Then, what I'm afraid of, and what I want to caution people on, is the Dallas Police Department has a job to do. There are laws on the books right now that, regardless of how they feel about it, it's their job to enforce. And so if we have people that show up at our event who are just flagrantly disregarding the law, lighting up joints in front of police officers, I expect Dallas police to do their job, which is to cite that person and release them. Cite release. You will get a citation that says you're going to have to come back and face the music at some point, but you're free to go today. You can spare yourself that free ride in the cop car. And because what we have to be conscious of is if we're just out there disregarding the law completely with a police escort, that reflects on the Dallas Police Department and their ability to next year want to work with us to have a peaceful, safe event that people can come out and enjoy their constitutional rights. And so it's very important that people come and they be smart and cautious and safe at this Dallas Marijuana March. Coming to a normal event is not permission to break the law. It never has been. I'm saying it right now. If you think that that's been the case, I'm sorry to burst your bubble. But people are going to do what people are going to do. And if you come out and you're smart, safe, and cautious, I feel like this is going to become the biggest march, the biggest event that we've ever done. And it's because we're not being held back by the limitations of our commercial side of our event. It's because this is truly an event just for our First Amendment. We can assemble peacefully, we can air our grievances, and we can talk about what Texas needs to do to change marijuana policy. Now, so that's a huge change to the event. With that, with no music being, it's no longer a festival event, we're going to try to cram far more speakers into the event. I'm looking for a minimum of 25 to 30 speakers that are going to be speaking in the hour that we're assembling at our initial meeting location. People who are going to be speaking on megaphones as we're marching through the streets, and then people who are going to speak on our brand new PA system so we can be really heard at Dealey Plaza. People who are going to have compelling things to say that our thousands of supporters are going to want to hear and cheer to, and that are going to empower them to go and fight for reform in their own way. And so we'll have far more speakers. That's another big change this year, more than we've ever had. I really want to show the diversity of the marijuana law reform movement. I want to show the women. I want to show the black women, the black men, the Mexican men and women. I want to show the people aren't used to seeing associated with marijuana law reform coming out and being loud and proud and public and joining with groups like NORML, because damn it, we're no longer afraid to do this because we're together. We are a mighty force. We are the ones who can shape our own cannabis destiny in this state. But it's not going to happen without everybody's participation, without your participation. You have to show up, join me, and together we will change the laws in Texas for the better.
Thank you very much, Shaun. I'll be sure to try to get this out on all the Facebook and social media that I can so that we can educate all the participants that come and they can have a safe and protestful time.
Protestful.